So let's look at the very first one, right? Identify business question. So there are tons of business questions out there depending on what industry that you are in. So that's why I always say that in order to become a data scientist, right, you need to have programming skills, you need to have business knowledge, and you need to have a little bit of mathematics and statistics background. And out of these three, I personally think that business domain knowledge is the most important one. You can be an engineer, you can be a chemist, it doesn't matter, but you really need to know your business very well so that you are able to ask the right questions. So, for example, when you're working at a telco company, let's say you're working for DG, right? This month your subscribers number suddenly increase. So by looking at the number increase, you need to think about it. Hey, how come our sales suddenly become so good this month? Is it because of some campaign that we have done? Is it because of some disaster happened to some companies? Yada yada. Then finally through data analysis you realize that, oh, okay, we have 20% of new subscribers who were actually coming from U Mobile. And then from U Mobile, they need to do similar churn rate, churn analysis as well. They were like, how come our users drop by 20% or maybe even higher this month? Or some of them go to Maxis, some of them go to DG, right? So it's a very typical use case. So as a telco company, your job is to figure out how do we use uh, machine learning to predict, to understand, right, what are the factors that will affect customer retention and what we call it a churn rate. Last week or weeks before, we are facing a very serious uh, air quality issue, right? Our API always hit 200, 300 points at one stage. So another type of business question that you can ask is, when things like that happens, right, when we have bad air quality, what should I do, right? How should we prepare for it, and what can I do to bring the most value to the citizen so that I can make money out of it as well, right? For example, if you're chemical companies, then you should be looking at buying more masks, stock up more masks if you're a pharmacist or chemist. Now, if you are somebody who are doing electrical products, then you can probably say, we should import 1,000 units of air purifier right now because everybody in the country needs that. Okay, so these are another ways that we can look at machine learnings and predictive analytics to correlate with the data that's actually happening in the real world. Now, in something that's more generic, right, we can look at a Malaysian house price index. So to figure out, okay, is this the right time to buy a house, or what sort of house should I buy if I have a budget of 1 million, etc. Now, for all of the things that I have said, right, it doesn't matter which industry, whether is it real estate or is it telcos or is it like environmental issues that I mentioned earlier. Everything that we have talked about, right, it will eventually boil down into two things. So when you're using machine learning on data science, you are trying to help the companies or any organization that has a business problem to either increase revenue or to reduce their cost. Right? This is the ultimate goal that we want to use data science for in business. And this is what a lot of companies they're looking forward to anyway. So my suggestion to you is in step one, right? Whether you are okay. So this is another misconception. People think that, oh, I need to be a very big company in order to learn data science. Hiring data scientists like the consultants like Dr. Lau is very expensive. So better don't do it when my data set is small. Okay, that's very wrong. You should be able to start collecting data and analyzing them since day one. Right. Even if you cannot collect any data, also you have some data to help you to understand how come after I've done so many things I cannot even convert a single data, right? Just like what Ruben has always been doing with our clients. You can have a website, right? Brand new website just set up today, and you can install Google Analytics and start collecting data. And for example, a very simple one, you can send 100 WhatsApp message to your friends, right? Say, hey, you know what? I recently opened a cafe. My website is www.drlaocafes.com. Just click it and like it on my Facebook page. Thank you very much. And even a very simple, a very small activity like this, right? It will help you to identify your conversion rate. For example, okay, out of my 100 friends, only 3 friends supported me. So sad. So the conversion rate is 3%. So my point is, even from the very beginning, right? If you want to become a data driven person, you want to become a data driven company, your first thing is you have to be able to define everything as a measurable goal. It has to be a very tangible goal in order for you to be able to measure the performance so that the machine can learn from it. Yeah, you cannot do agak-agak in machine learning. Okay, you cannot say, I think agak lah, yeah, 5 friends will come. If they don't come, come lah, yeah. If they don't come, never mind. In machine learning, there's no such thing. If you have 5 friends come out of your 100 WhatsApp messages, your conversion rate is 5%. Okay, in fact, 5% is very good for cold leads, but then you have a room to optimize it, right? You want to increase it to 8%. What should you do based on the traffic, etc.? So everything needs to be defined as a measurable goal. In terms of increased revenue, you can define something like this: when should I stock up more masks? All right, is it because when the API hits 180, the demand for mask or N95 suddenly go up very high? Or when is the best time to sell a property? Now, if a particular area, right, everybody, the transaction volume is very low, meaning not many people buy and sell house in a particular area. Intuitively, right, you'll be thinking, let's say we talk about Kepong. Okay, this is about Kepong, right? Kepong is an area, and then you look at the residential area in Kepong, and then you look at the history records, you realize that not that many transactions happening in the past 12 months, meaning not many people selling houses and not many people buying houses. A typical market use case, like just like share market. Got people buy, got people sell. Then you suddenly realize that, hey, how come uh, in Kepong the transaction is so low? This is a real story I learned from iProperty. Yeah. So they say, if if the transaction is low, right, usually people will intuitively think that, oh, this area is not good. That's why not many people bought house from there. But sometimes you could be wrong, right? And usually data tells us otherwise. Data will tells you that actually the people who are in Kepong, right, they are holding their property because they know that the price, the value will go up, the value will appreciate, so that they do not want to release their property yet. That's why so little transactions happen in the area. Yeah, with data, analyzing data and building a model, you are able to do that. Okay. For example, how can we foster customer loyalty? I mentioned to you earlier, right? If you do not look at your data, if you do not build a model, and your subscribers suddenly go up by 20%, you'll be like, hey, how come my subscribers suddenly go up by 20%? And that's a good thing. But on the bad side is your subscriber drop by 20% and you don't know what to do. And the best part of using machine learning is you should be able to detect it beforehand. In our data science course also, we do have a HR exercise to help you to learn how to identify which staff or employee is going to leave your company beforehand. These are the increased revenue part, okay? We can also use it to help us to reduce costs, which I think is a lot easier because cost reduction is always easier than getting new revenue. And cost reduction is always within your control. So we can use it to reduce customer acquisition costs, see which advertisement is more effective, and then we use different type of keywords that help us to lower our costs. Or we can use it to reduce costs, like what precautions to take during haze season. So if you can forecast or predict that the haze is going to hit X number, let's say 250, right? If you're a minister, if you're a ministry, you can help to declare that we should be monitoring the air quality index and whether we should skip school and work tomorrow or not. If you're a boss, then you can also use it as a maintenance issue, right? You say that, oh, okay, it's going to hit 120 or 150, we should purchase an air purifier as soon as possible. And last but not least, which property has the highest CP ratio? So this will prevent you from buying the wrong house. Some houses are cheap, but their CP value is very low because the area has nothing, no supermarkets, no MRT, no LRT. And although it's cheap, but the CP ratio is low. Okay, and you don't want to buy something with a low CP ratio because that's going to increase your cost and took a longer time for you to gain your capital back, right? So First thing first, identify business questions and don't forget to define a very clear and tangible goal so that everybody knows what we are optimizing for.